I'm happy to present our next speaker. Actually, in my team, we have a special methodology to work with the culture, and we have a wonderful um, set that we can name kind of a that is named Spark, and it's actually all about the stories. We created it so that everyone could try to use it without us. But actually, sometimes it's so hard to use even such a set you if you are not the leader in the company. So now for me, it's a real honor to give the floor to Dmitry Makayev, business trainer, methodologist, facilitator, and writer, how he actually motivated the leadership to create a whole new culture and direction of work. Thank you, Artem, for this kind introduction. I'm happy to welcome all the participants of this conference. For me, it's indeed an honor to be part of this conference. I wanted to start actually with a question that I hope uh, you'll respond to this question. Can you give me the first slide, Artem? As- Yeah, yeah, I'll do so. Sure. So, dear colleagues, what are your thoughts when you see this picture? Please share in the chat. If you're still with us, if you're quite active, if you see the conference, not only follow it, listening, or you can have a quick look at the presentation in your smartphone, your laptop, and please share what are your associations with this picture. Idea, one idea, electricity, communal services. It should work. Yeah. Um, the bulb is usually associated with the idea. Yeah. Someone is right, and then it's like waiting for our lamps to be lighted. Actually, this is my feeling. Then in the beginning of 2025, I got this set that Artem has shown that is called the Spark. I was very motivated, and I am the internal trainer in one of the companies. And I got so motivated, and I was trying to promote this set. But everyone I was speaking with, top management, the leadership, I was saying like, "Hey, we should try this," and they were like, "Maybe sometime later, because we have so many tasks, so many things to do." So I was like the only bulb who was full of light, and they were only saying, "Hey, this is a game. We don't have time for games right now." And for me, it was such a contrast because I was so um, full of this idea. I was really motivated of it. So once again, I'll briefly introduce myself. So I'm Dmitry Makeyev, and I'll try to briefly tell you how I fall in love with these stories. 20 years ago, I was an actor. I was doing the voiceovers, playing in theater. I was an actor. And every drama actor is always connected to some stories. You're always a part of the story. We were creating a lot based on scripts, based on drama that was provided so we were creating our own stories. Um, so I believe this is when I first fell in love with these stories, and then I became a trainer. For me, it was one of the beloved in instruments. So I was always try to share something about myself, so that we would build trust, and I was also always fostering this storytelling space, so that we would be united with those um, I'm training. Now, for about 5 years, I've been exploring the world of literature. So I've been practicing as a writer. So probably one day I will have my fiction published. As for now, I have only the training books published. I really like it, and actually, I really fallen in love also with the stories as a person who is responsible for trade and development. And this is then my new round of life, so to say, has started. Not for everyone, it's evident that a story can be a very powerful tool for connection, for transformation of teams and companies. A bit about my environment. So how I was uh, uh, how I started. So I started to work in IAS. This is a very long existing company. Our company is the part of a large company that is the Russian Railways. So everything that our company creates actually then is used by the Russian Railways, and it helps people to travel safely. Um, we do so that the trains they move faster and have more automation. So this is the Research and Development Institute, and we have these innovations always at our core. We are creating the technologies, the new ones, but at the same time, we are only the affiliate company of the Russian railways. So many um, members of leadership, they initially were part of the Russian railways. Additionally, this company, the Russian railways, it was very, let's say, strict in its management techniques. It has always have a military style discipline. It's natural because this is a high risk activity that they do. We work with clients with safety, and sometimes you really need to have this military style discipline so that the safety will be always the priority. But those leaders, they need to work with uh, people that are scientists and they are very creative. So we have a very unique culture. At the same time, we have this innovative spirit, but at the same time, we have lots of bureaucracy and we are quite focused on discipline. When I started my work at this research institute, no one really knew anything about the development of corporate culture. It just existed as it was, but no one has really thought of real structuring of the corporate culture. Somewhere around the year 2021, I think there was an initiative group that thought of creating the code of ethics. They had a very small group. They actually taken the values from the Russian railways company, and they created the documents. They created the code of business conduct, but this document has never been used. It's just created, and this is it. No one really actually was sharing the values of our company and so on. So then during the trainings, I was asking people, "Do you know the values of the company?" People were like, no, we were always lost. They only had some assumptions. Probably we have the same values as in the Russian railways, and this was it. So this was the situation. Also, we had some cooler side talks. People were saying like, "Hey, we don't have culture at all. We need to have more training and so on and so forth." But was all thinking that they need something, really. So, and then I got a box. So I had the course with our term on the strategic storytelling, and after the course, I saw the announcement that there was this pre-sale of this set of cards for facilitation. I got really intrigued. I bought the set, and once I got it, I I was sharing that, "Hey, I got this thing." I was sharing with chief officers, so everyone I worked with, but nothing. It didn't really resonate. We were all saying, like already mentioned, like, "Okay, it's okay, but not now." And for 6 months, this box was lying in the closet. So I already started some our work. I started my next book, my second book. Um, all of a sudden, our director has changed. Not the general director, but the HR director has changed. We got a new lady who was very well experienced. She was from the Russian railways. And Tatiana, she was motivated by different events. She was always having some forums and so on. She really liked it, and she decided that we need to have it the same. Um, so she invited me. We created, she decided to have a special forum of generations. It was a uh, gathering for the whole company. Why it was organized? Because we celebrated the anniversary of the company, the 70 years anniversary, because she celebrated really already long in the company, and she also wanted the elder generation to share more with these maybe youngest generations of our employees. And at that time, I said, "Hey, I have such a great set. I can really facilitate the session. That's really about sharing stories, so that we would exchange experience in between the generations, and we would be united by the values that it seems like we have them, but no one really knows about them. At the time, I haven't really thought that we would have the possibility to reformulate the values. I really thought that probably I will just revive the values. And our new director, she said like, "Oh, wonderful! I like this idea. Let's go together to our director general." So we went to him. At the meeting, we also had the head of the PR department, financial department, chief. And during this meeting, the head of HR department, she shared information about this forum, about this set of cards for facilitation, and then she showed how it will influence the reality uh, of our employees, how it can influence the turnover. The Director General said, "Hey, actually, this is a good idea, and for the anniversary, this is indeed what we need as part of our celebrations." So it seems like we really need to talk about the values at the time of our anniversary. More, even more, we've decided to have a kind of a series of such events, and we would really crystallize the values that we have. Was probably not some values are a bit different from the Russian railways, and the financial director just said was very unexpected because I thought she's so conservative and so on, and it's critical, and she was used to being so authoritative and asserting. And she's saying like, let's ask our specialists first. So let's just stop from the bottom to the top. We should have the sessions first with our specialists, with our experts, and only when we are going to discuss with all this with leadership. This was for me so surprising. So this was my dream. So we wanted to have it organically, not I didn't want to set the values from the top to the bottom. So it was really motivating, and this was already the decision of the director general. So it all launched the whole procedure. We have lots of bureaucracy in our company, but it finally has been launched, the whole process, and officially they got the right to have those sessions. So what I want to say and what I want to share with you, I believe during the today's session we are all experienced experts been long working with stories, not like me. Um, so you know well enough how to work with values, but still I have this possibility. So I will share my conclusions from this work. During the project sale, um, well, then you try to sell project that is new to the company internally, it's really um, important to show what problems will be solved. Then the Director General understood that it would be part of the anniversary celebrations. He changed his mind. For our leadership, um, anniversary, this is the PR campaign always. This is kind of a political event when you have the top management from our um, parent company. So for Director General, it's like, okay, we as a company, uh, we are not just an institute. We have our traditions, we have our values, so we have our special culture. So we'll have our own positioning during the anniversary, and this is good. This will be beneficial for the loyalty of our uh, clients and so on. So he really had this connection, hey, benefit, and then surely, this whole support of director for HR, communication director, financial director, it was really well supported because we wanted also to carry out the video interviews and we decided also to have kind of anniversary video. So it really helped to motivate the director general. And a bit about the sessions. It's, it wasn't always even. We had lots of mistakes as well. We've learned from our experience. So, what I would like to highlight, first of all, I was very nervous. For me, facilitation as such is a kind of a new brand for me. I've started this, but I had not so much practice. And also, the format was a bit um, tricky for me. We had a wonderful instructions. Artom, Alona, they helped me so much, and they helped us with the webinars. But still, once we started to practice, we had many questions. I had many questions because we are all living creatures, and we had these living reactions. Uh, I'll describe you the first session. So I've prepared everything in advance. I created the atmosphere. We have a very good place with the coffee, with these tables, and it seems like it would be great to work in groups of three and have a tea, maybe some biscuits. So we've created this nonchalant atmosphere. But actually, still, I started with just too simple. It was too standard. I was trying to say what are values. It was quite interactive, but people were tired. They didn't want to talk so much, and it was a bit. kind of a lecture on values and culture. It wasn't really lighting some fire, but when I've decided to share an example, say I started to talk about these stories, and I've decided to share an example. I've launched the video. The R- Russian Railways Company, they have the whole video on storytelling, and but this is a fiction that they created. Um, there was a kind of a protagonist that where people could relate. So we watched this brief uh, video. The engineer who managed to live up to the expectations. Yeah, fine, but still people were not properly motivated. Okay, they need to start working in the groups. So people were getting cards from the set, but still, for some people, they started to sell something. So I'll listen to what's going on in the teams. It seems like there is some dynamics, but not. But some people they're just somewhere outside, so to say. And instead of stories, people were sharing the phone. Well, we are all together. We all help each other. Yeah, for us that's normal. So there were too many generalizations. So I was trying to help. So I was giving additional questions. So to provoke the storytelling. So step by step, these wheels started turning. Maybe sometimes roughly, but still. And finally, when there was a time to share the main stories for the whole audience, they were shared. I recorded those stories. Um, so when we were working the template to formulate the values, analyzing the stories, and uh, if you know how Artem's technology works, uh, you need to have three characteristics for the value. And we had like freedom, um, the value, the risks that you take, and the third one, the usefulness. And it was written, we freely choose the self development, even if someone is afraid. Afraid of what? So the was very difficult to understand what people meant, and at the very end, we had this whole batch of values. I tried to concise this all in one in one word, and I'm using the flip charts, but in the flip chart, actually, I had just the cloud of words, and this is it. So this was the first session. I thanked everyone. It was all very necessary and useful. But what was the feeling that people, yeah, they had some emotions, but actually, um, I had no feeling like we were motivated, and I thought like, hey, this is cool what we did. Now I understand why. Because sessions need to have a kind of a final, some the end. So when I asked all my questions afterwards, um, when I spoken with Artem later on, I got wonderful responses from him, and I really understood that we need to understand how those values that we kind, how they will influence the results of our work, how we will influence the atmosphere. And last but not least, we need to ask the following question: what you can do tomorrow, maybe something small. What can you do in order to make your colleagues um, behave in accordance with the value. So you need to make it all um, really working, really connected with the reality. We had other sessions, but every next session was better than the previous one. Well, actually, I also had some cases, and people were sharing stories tete-a-tete with me. And so finally, these mechanisms started working. Well, actually, I understood that you need really to work so that you would have the engagement scenario. So you need to have more practice, um, more engagement. You need to wake up people, so to say, to wake up this narrative thinking, narrative engagement. Artyom has once told me that warm up is not necessarily needed, but I actually coined the warming up so that we would have this people sat into gear, so to say, so that the emotional level of the group would be somehow woken up. So engaging scenario, warming up was really needed, and now I really practice it a lot. Also, you need to set the rules. We had some difficult participants. Surely, one of the participants, for example, a very old person, he was actually always very quick. So when you have the rules, it's easier to work with those tough participants, those who um, try to value everything and so on. So in the cards, um, we have different roles, but I invented one more. So we decided to have the timekeeper role as well. So when you have the timekeeper in a group, it's much easier to track the time. Um, so also once we had this whole story bank of the story of stories, it became much easier to engage people. So the work was easier, became easier. As for the environment, surely you need to keep that friendly environment. It's something indispensable. I'm not sure I should have even mentioned that. And talking about the materials as such, so what we've got afterwards, we've been carrying out these sessions for 6 months. We had 10 sessions. The final session with top management was also a rough one. I thought that we will have all the leadership. Unfortunately, uh, some people even laughed the in the middle of the session, but still we managed to choose the values and um, vote on them, and they are part of our declaration now. I was initiating all this. So what was important for me? For me, it was important to share this book of values. I really wanted to have this special book of values, and I really wanted to present it during the anniversary, um, and maybe even spread it physically. But when I started to collect the stories for the book, I understood we lack these stories. And I really was sad that I wasn't recording all of the stories that we had. If we would have well, them all recording while people discussed the stories in the mini groups, we would have so much. So once our director general got this whole collection of stories, and our director general is a person with a um, very good education. He was working in with scientific books and so on. And director general, he just said, "Hey, this is not a book. This is a brochure." And actually, I also had in this book also the whole list of practices, but those practices probably were not really the living ones. And and this is why the director general decided not to have this practices included in the book. So the director general decided that this book, this brochure, should actually be expanded, and decided to introduce a section on our website where we are going to collect and publish the stories that we already have the video interviews, and sometimes we are going also to um, tell to send the request to the leadership to read the stories, to share more, so we would have the possibility to share the stories in written form. We really want our bank of stories to grow. What I was also would like to highlight, I've already mentioned the reaction of our Director General. Then the anniversary was over already, and we already were sharing values during our anniversary. And the video that was prepared was also about the values. And during this anniversary, I understood that for our Director General, these became really relevant. And he even said, "Hi, Dmitry, thank you very much for doing all this, for and that we have this during our um, anniversary." So apart from this collection, this brochure, this book, uh, we actually had the um, certain conclusions. So what I suggest: record all stories told in session by session participants, and collect stories everywhere, not only during sessions, but also during interviews, surveys, and so on. You can just point them when people actually discuss some working questions. So during interview, you can pose a question and it will provoke the storytelling. It can be somewhere in a formal setting. I had such situations, and sometimes during the corporate events, I got wonderful stories, and people were relaxed. So you should always be focused on collecting stories. So step by step, it will really um, become essential. So when I was conducting the sessions, I forgot that you need to obtain the permission from the office to publish the story. So once you feel the story is good, please ask about the permission to publish the story. Are you ready for your story to be published on the website in the collection of stories? Can I take a photo of you? So this is what I would do now, because it takes so much time later on. People, we won't have time later on. So I really waited for a long time to get the permission from our participants. Also, look for practices for bringing values to life during special sessions and on the van include them. So you need to have the follow-up events. And now using the cards from the set, I also going to have those follow-up events. For me, the ideal map of Iskra project or Spark project was the project launch sessions, materials. So when you work with materials, then you also accumulate stories. At the same time, you can carry out some events, and then it's better to present it as a book. I believe in different countries, different companies, it can take different time because it's very individual, so to say. As a sum up, I would like to mention the following: that I understood that people in the company they come from different backgrounds, from different families. They have different experience. They come from other countries as well. And although we have wise leadership, and we have some procedures for recruiting, and during the recruitment, we ask about the values and we try to find the people who will be close for us, who would have the same values. But people are still people. They are very different. And I believe this individuality makes them special, and these differences they can become the advantage for the company. But at the same time, sometimes people have their automatic reaction to certain conflicts and crises that can go not in line with the values of the company. So story for me now, I believe, is the only key to speak the common language in the company so that the values would be really um, relatable to all the company members. Um, During one of the trainings, I used a, a quote from speech of Solzhenitsyn during his Nobel nomination, and he was saying, like, people, their mindset, their motivations, their inner scales, they are defined. Can you hear me? Yeah. Um, so his actions, motivations are defined by his own and collective experience. Never believe your brother, believe your eye. This is what the Russian wisdom says. So every time we analyze things, we use our own internal scale. And Solzhenitsyn is also was saying, but how we can actually leverage our inner scales, who can create the um, common grid we can all use to assess what is good and what is evil. And this cannot be created through propaganda or scientific evidence, but there is the tool for that: art, literature. And I totally believe in what Solzhenitsyn was saying during his Nobel Prize nomination. And I believe this was a banner that we tried to carry in our company last year. Surely we still have a long way to go. I believe for those who were part of these sessions, they understand what is professionalism, team spirit. Those are not just words. They feel what it's all about. They already have their experience that actually connects these words to, to their internal scale that they use to assess things. Dima, thank you very much for sharing your journey. Incredible um, stage and incredible path. Not an easy one. I'm really happy that you have this set. Please continue using it. We have certain questions in the chat. I will ask my question also in the chat. Please stay with us to answer it. Thank you very much. And now we move on to our next speaker. Thank you very much, Dima.